Malala Yousafzai, a name that shook the world back in 2014 when everyone around the world got the news that a 17-year-old girl was shot in the head because she stood up to the Taliban's for the sake of education and for the sake of other girls' lives. Ended up winning the Nobel Peace Prize and making the entire country proud, perhaps, or at least not what the Pakistanis think. It kind of makes me ashamed to say this, but unfortunately, someone who happens to be one of the biggest celebrities and one of the biggest, most influential people of all time is not really loved back in her own homeland. A homeland that somehow failed to save her. And a huge reason for that is because, obviously, considering her controversial life, it sucks to see that a lot of political and influential people back home hate her. They literally hate her because they think that she's not doing enough, or that she just capitalizes on her own misery, or that she didn't do anything to even deserve the Nobel Peace Prize. Yes, that's what people say. People have ended up hearing God knows how many stories about how her book is not written by her and her father, and how she didn't deserve to win, and that all she did was get shot. What happened to the other girls? She often has had certain interviews in which one particular interview she ended up getting really a lot of hate, and that was the one she did with a Vogue editor who happens to be a female and asked her about what her opinion on marriage was and when she was getting married, or if she was ever getting married. Malala stated that she doesn't really understand the concept of marriage and that she doesn't think she is ever going to get married. Her reason for saying that is because she looked around at people getting married and sometimes didn't understand what their connection was and what exactly was happening in marriage. Sounded something, to be very honest, quite valid, since every other South Asian girl has at least once thought of it, but unfortunately the Pakistani people did not take it at all. Every other celebrity was commenting how she is very away from her deen and how she doesn't respect the concept of marriage and how she's always thinking of haram things and how she's not promoting the country or the country's religion and culture, and what's the point of her having a dupatta on. It was just on and on and on. The whole idea of her saying this was something very basic, and it is absolutely fine to think that maybe in one stage of your life or another, but unfortunately the misogyny of this country took over her particular opinion and everybody did not understand what she was trying to say. I don't think it is fair to use misogyny in order to hate people and then turn impatient, and I think our public, or in general our nation, needs to be more thankful to her for representing us and actually saving our reputation when the entire world during 9/11 thought that we were the ones in 2014, back like 3 years ago, responsible for such a huge attack. And when every other person in Pakistan was receiving hate, she was the only one that kind of proved the fact that terrorism is not something that originates from Pakistan, but it is something that even we face and the women of our country face. And the real oppression was never Islam. The real oppression was actual violence towards women and people in general.